Hey YouTube, ZeroMagnumX here. I have the OCG, quote unquote, forbidden restriction list in front of me. Okay, first I'm going to address the elephant in the room, and that is, again, with my quote unquote lack of Yu-Gi-Oh content. Right now, my lack of content is because I've literally been busy. I have a job, I've been gaining more hours, working more days. So I'm trying to get up what I can when I can. It's almost 2 a.m. right now. So, I mean, if that tells you something, me getting this up for everybody. As far as supporting Yu-Gi-Oh, I bought some Judgment of Light packs the other day. I did record an opening, but I didn't put it up because, number one, I just could not say any of the card names correctly, and it sounded kind of foolish, if anyone cares. And number two, I didn't really pull anything of relevance, so it wasn't important enough to upload. Alright, so I mean, I do generally record content, but if it's not good enough or I feel like I didn't do a good enough job for you guys, I just won't put it up. I'm just letting you know I am looking into doing more Yu-Gi-Oh now that this new list is out. Hopefully the meta changes enough that I can be happy with it and I can start getting back into this game. It's not that it's a bad thing. I mean, I love Yu-Gi-Oh as far as mechanics go and everything else, but the main issue is that people just keep building ridiculous stuff and Konami keeps saying, here's ridiculous stuff, build it. And it's this like Ouroboros unending cycle that's just not good. So I'm thankful that this list kind of changes and fixes that. And I'm going to get to it now. Sorry about my tiny rant before I started. Okay, forbidden cards. All the baby dragons and Spellbook of Judgment. My only complaint is Spellbook of Judgment should not be there. It should move one section down and be on limited cards alongside Spellbook Magician of Prophecy. And then put Spellbook of Secrets to 2. And I think that would have been fine. The deck would have had one huge move, 3 ways to get to it, and then it would have been done. It would have had to use that judgment to set up and win. And I think that would have been fine because if any type of dragon deck can keep Super Rejuvenation, even if it's only at 1, I think Spellbook of Judgment would have been just fine. Because they're limiting like secrets, and they would have put Spellbook Magician of Prophecy at 1. You have 3 ways to get to it, and it would have slowed the deck down, but it wouldn't have taken it, I think, completely out of the meta. So we'll see what happens. Okay, limited cards. Gen X Alley Birdman, alright. They want to stop the OTK, I'm okay with this. Wind Up Shark. This card is what I've been talking about. Everyone's like, oh no, Magician makes this deck busted. Oh no, it's Magician that makes everything broken. Yeah, Konami finally learned their lesson that Shark is the reason windups are so good. Just making a point. Magician meant almost nothing because you couldn't really set up with Magicians. I mean, realistically speaking, they were kind of clunky. Like, every time I played that, they were always clunky. I wanted to see Wind Up Shark more than I wanted to see Magician. Just whenever I was behind the deck. Okay, anyway, talked about that. That part's done. I mean, that's all I have to say about wind-ups. They made a flip-flop of Shark and Magician. Okay, cool. Doesn't faze me. I got rid of my wind-ups a long time ago. I love the deck, but it just wasn't doing anything with, elemental dragons around. Okay, Murmur Odysseus going to 1. Sure, I saw this coming. I said, when this card gets over to the OCG and everything else, it's going to go to 1 because it's a card that lets you discard and search. And Konami does not like being able to special summon, find what you need, and then plus off of it. They just don't like cards like that, so I definitely saw it go to 1, and it went to 1. I'm just making a point. Okay, I'll address Rooster in a moment. I have a little bit to talk on about that. Big guy going to 1. Okay. Yeah. Definitely should have. Oh, one quick note for the other XCs that is supposed to be on this list. This is the OCG list. Just making a point that everyone's like, Ophian's not on it, it's fake. This is the OCG list. Now, I'm not saying that we're not getting this list. We are getting this list. I'm fairly positive. What I'm saying is that in the OCG list, Ophion was already at 1, I believe, on their other list. So on our TCG list, we'll probably see that as a change that happens. Just wanted to point that out. Okay, that's why it's not on this list, because this is explicitly the list from Japan, and if Ophion's already at 1, it's already at 1, guys. Just making that point. Okay, Trishula coming back. Cool. I agree wholeheartedly with what Underworld and Draco DMD had to say about this. Amongst the, like, garbage-ish cards, they were like, oh, here's a gem, enjoy your synchro summoning, and try to make it work. Here you go. Cool. Okay, that's good. That's all I can say about Trishula. It's not nearly as busted as it used to be. Alright, now. Super Rejuve to 1 makes sense. Want to completely kill dragons, this is the way to do it. Divine Wind of Mist Valley, OTKs, and I guess maybe even if it was an FTK, I'm not sure. Gone. Okay. Abyss Sphere. This one's a little harsh, but it makes sense. I think you could have went to like maybe 2 and had been fine. And, you know, Dragoon's gone to 1. That would have been fine. But Abyss Sphere going to 1 is what Konami decided on. And when Konami decides on something, they decide on something. So it's fine. It is what it is. Alright. Semi-limited cards. This is my favorite section. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot about Rooster. I'll get to the semi-limited cards, and they are my favorite section, but first I'm going to address Rooster. This card going to 1, I've heard multiple times, it doesn't matter, it's only going to, they only use 1, and it's not hindering sales. I mean, I think this is Konami saying you guys should really rethink your second market. That's what I think it is. Saying if you're going to buy our product, cool, but don't buy it for 1 or 2 cards. Buy it for all the cards in our boxes. And I think everybody just has to find like that money card because they have to hold on to it. They have to grasp it, man. Because that box isn't worth it. Instead of just saying, well, you know what? I like your product. I want to buy it. So, but yeah, I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh! Boxes have been hit or miss a lot lately. Like, I mean, just it's how it is. But I think Judgment of the Light is a mostly solid, set to invest in, but just not because of Rooster. I mean, Bujins are pretty neat. I mean, if Honest ever goes to 2, that deck would be ridiculous. It's more skilled based, and we're in a Solar meta, so I mean, it could do something. And there's other cards in there, a lot of cool decks and strategies that people could try and build. And none of them are particularly busted, they're just strong. So, I mean, this is kind of a cool move. And the synchro support is what they're trying to push. Alright, now to get to semi-limited cards. Chaos Sorcerer to 2. This is cool because I really like the Dimensional Alchemist, Battle Fader, Chaos decks. But without 2 to 3 Chaos Sorcerers, they just weren't viable. Now they're viable again. So that's a pretty neat thing. So with that being viable, you can also gain Blackluster Soldier in that deck and it can become a thing again. The other deck that can be pushed forward, and this is the one that no one is talking about, are agents. Agents drop Trishula. Agents use Chaos Sorcerer. Agents use Blackluster Soldier. Agents may have gotten a couple of gems that I don't know came from somewhere. And Judgment of the Light, maybe there's a few cards that just no one noticed, or maybe there will be. So I mean, realistically speaking, that deck's not being talked about, and agents are a good deck, and they're one of the decks that can synchro summon. Something to consider, guys. Okay, Glad Beast BCR going to 2. I don't think this does anything. I'm not trying to be a jerk for everyone who loves Glads. I'm not, like, saying the deck is horrible or it's bad or anything. I just think it's not going to do anything. It's the same thing as Whirlwind. It's not going to do anything. I mean, you might get a few top 16, top 32s here and there, but I don't think it's just going to be like, oh my gosh, Bestiary, it's the best in the world. No, I think it's going to be fine. The reason the semi-limited list is my favorite is because it strengthens decks, but it's also like a teaching tool to a lot of people out there. Chaos Sorcerer going to 2 is the most relevant card on the list. Gores is the second most relevant card on the list. And Grand Mole, Whirlwind, and Fire Formation Tanky all really do nothing. Tanky going to 2 is fine. Okay, it limits your searches by 1 card. Sure. Okay, I mean, the deck's not really going to lose that much steam by going to 2. I've seen some lists just deciding just to run 2 because they wanted to run other cards. So it's fine. Okay, I really think it is. I mean, people may be like, you don't know anything about Fire Fists. Well, Fire Fists really weren't a relevant card. But if 50 people out of 90 people play Fire Fists, then yeah, they're going to see top showings because that's most of the playing field. Just something to note. Okay. The Neo-Spacian Grand Mole is a cool trick. It helps rock stun beat Egyptian God cards and some of the synchro monsters. That's mostly what it does. It doesn't really do anything else, and if they had skill drain out anyway, it would not have mattered. So, for either of those. And Grand Mole becomes like their most dead card then at that point, I think. Okay, now to get to Black Whirlwind. The format has 3 Space Typhoon and a Heavy Storm. Good luck at keeping Whirlwind alive. Just saying. And Trishula came back. So, double good luck at keeping Whirlwind live on the field for more than a turn or 2. Yeah. And it going to 2 does almost literal nothing for the deck. Black Wings to be tier 1 again would need 3 Whirlwind and Royal Oppression. There's no way around it. Or 2 Gale and 3 Whirlwind. And then yes, they would be a fighting force because then they would be scary. But as is, no, they're not. Not just because they got Whirlwind back. I'm ecstatic about 2 Whirlwind because it gives me more chances to see the card and make my Black Wings playable. But it definitely doesn't make them tier 1 by any means. Okay. Going to 3. Wind Up Magician. Talked about that already. I'm just going to let it be what it is. Okay? Tsukuyomi going to 3. I mean, that's my only response because sure, it's at 3. Fine. I mean, it seems really okay for it to be the 3. It doesn't really do anything. Emergency Call, it's kind of cool to see heroes get some support. And this kind of double ups on helping Gladiator Beast a little bit. So that's kind of a cool thing to note. Advanced Ritual Art, Perfect Herald might be a thing. Like I said, agents. We might be getting into an agent type format. Just something to consider. Duality going to 3. I don't even know why this card went to 2 in the first place. I mean, it's balanced enough that it would never actually need touched on the list. I mean, you can't special summon and you can only use 1 of them per turn. Okay. I mean, I never understood the reason behind that. Scapegoat, Reasoning, and Mirror Force are the 3 most significant cards going to 3. And Mirror Force is the least important of those 3. Just want to make a point. Scapegoat going to 3 is really nice because it's cool to see Quick Play kind of gaining some leverage. No, it's not going to do anything. People going to Goat Control and buying Plasma out because, oh my gosh, it's going to be a huge thing. Don't. Goat Control is not a thing without Thousand Eyes Restrict, and Thousand Eyes Restrict is still forbidden. So, I mean, Scapegoat is going to be more like a defensive type card. It's going to be a cool card to use. And, I mean, you might get your Plasma out, but if Plasma starts getting some leverage, people will just realize Soul Taker and Smash and Ground are good cards. And then it will kill the Plasma deck, and people will have to go back to the drawing board. Just making a point. And Plasma's not even that good unless it's stealing something like Obelisk the Tormentor. So, overall, not really worth it for a deck. So what are you going to do? Steal their, 1900 beater? It's not that powerful. And then they just, summon something bigger and attack over it. It's not the greatest. I mean, I get it. It's control, so you'd have all the trap cards, all the spell cards, etc., etc. But I still feel like it's not going to be a thing. I mean, it'll be a cool deck to see. And I hope it gets some tops. Because I'm a shameless Destiny Hero fan. I hated GX, and I'm sorry for all of you who love it. I'm sincerely sorry for all of you who love it. But I hated GX. The one strategy that came out of it that I absolutely loved, the flavor and everything else behind and the concept, were Destiny Heroes. I thought they were really, really cool. They just never had enough attack power to actually do anything. So Plasma being the king of the Destiny Heroes, I thought was really cool. So I hope Plasma Control gets something, but I don't think it's going to do anything. Reasoning is one of my favorite cards in the game. It brings an element of luck back to the game to some degree, and I like cards like that. I like cards that make your opponent kind of choose what their fate's going to end up as. So it's kind of a neat thing. I like seeing that card back at 3 a lot. So I'm personally happy about it. I don't know if many people agree with me or disagree with me, and they don't have to agree or disagree with me because this is a discussion video. And the cool thing about this being a discussion video is that it's opinions. Alright, Mirror Force going to 3 gives stun some push, and it gives you a nice trap lineup to push. If you're just okay, well, I should run 3 Compulse, 3 Prisons, 3 Mirror Force, and Solemn Judgment. Okay, so there's my 10 traps if I want to run that many. And my deck's a little bit on the trap heavy side, and I'm getting back to these 20, 10, 10 decks, or 20 monsters, 10 spells, 10 traps, or some variation of that. You have a nice lineup to run. Oh, and Torrential Tributes if you want that, because that's a 2. Anyway, please comment, favorite, and subscribe, and peace, YouTube. Have a good one. Later, everyone.